Hey everyone. So today is going to be another remastered episode. I'm going to be going back and remastering, or I have gone back and remastered Zach Sutterfield. He's a cook, and I remastered his episode. That was episode 2. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know what you like and what you don't like, and we will be getting back to original content for our next episode. So stay tuned for that. I also hope you enjoy the remastered interview with Zach Sutterfield. Welcome to Curious Joel, a show about curiosity taking us deeper into the topics of people's passion and interesting conversations. Today's guest is Zach Sutterfield. Zach, go ahead and introduce your passion.
Well, my passion is for cooking, whether it be at home or in any capacity, like in business or just doing it for other people.
Awesome. That's really cool. How did you get started with cooking? Like, what got you into it in the first place?
Necessity.
Necessity.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a great reason. Like, if you don't mind, what started you going from like, okay, I need to cook to I like to cook? Like, what changed it?
It was about the same time. So I started cooking when I was really young. I think I was 7 or 8-ish or whatever. And it's like, you help your mom or your dad or whoever in the kitchen. Generally, my mom would help in the kitchen. So that was definitely something that we bonded over. So I just did it more and more. But I realized I liked it too. And it was always taught. She taught it in a way it was a skill it was an important skill to learn earlier on.
Yeah.
That everyone should have. That's how she had put it across.
Absolutely.
And then the fun in that and seeing I was just generally naturally creative. So I think I saw the creativity in it and the art. And so I really loved it. And like ever since like that age, I really developed more and more love for food, and kind of eventually when I started learning about the industry that surrounds it, started loving that too.
Okay, so it goes beyond the actual cooking, but also the industry behind the cooking as well. Like it's developed into like the whole industry.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I mean, and that's as good a reason as I've ever heard for anything about like getting into something is like bonding with your mom, and like again, necessity also makes sense.
The thing about necessity and so everyone's got to eat, right? So it's kind of like a thing. But part of that is it also, when everybody eats, it brings people together. It generally calms down family problems, at least in the moment. Generally people got to eat. They're not fighting while they're eating, right? And in the larger, broader scheme of like cultural things, it's really brought the world together over.
I mean, almost every major holiday is, well, what food goes with this holiday?
Exactly,
so
yeah.
No, I mean, that totally makes sense. That's awesome. So, and that's kind of like when you knew you loved it was when you realized that it was like a bridge or bridging a gap in like relationships and in problems and stuff.
Not just yes for sure on that, but I would say it's most multifaceted. So like It's that part. It's also artful. It has this very necessity built to it. So every time like you can make something like a beautiful cake, it has a reason. It goes, it's useful. So the whole practicality of it, plus all the other things it does for humans emotionally, culturally, and then just the art in it. The fun, the beauty in it, and it's fun sometimes. It can be a lot of fun things you can do.
I don't think I've ever really thought about it, all of those aspects at the same time. Like, cause like, I know, like, cooking's an art. Like I've seen that. I've also seen it not be an art. I've seen it being the necessity. And I've like, I mean, I've lived the college life of like, well, I guess I'm having ramen again. It's like, well, what can I do to spice up this ramen from the last 42 ramens I've had? And like, it's just a necessity where it's like, this is not ideal. And I've also like, I've seen all the different aspects, but I don't think I've ever actually heard them condensed into like, this is all of these things and all these different aspects are what would kind of get you moving on this. So yeah, you really like cooking. What, if you can, or at least narrow it down as much as you can, what is your favorite thing to cook?
Favorite thing to cook?
Yeah. What's your favorite thing to cook?
It's a good question.
I mean, if you can't narrow it down to like one dish or something, like narrow it down as much as you can, maybe top 3 things or something.
One of them I would have to say is pumpkin pie. I love making pumpkin pie. It's nostalgic. I think that's the reason why. Nostalgic.
Okay.
Another one that I really love to do is like a shrimp, or not shrimp. I mean a salmon with like a beurre blanc sauce with maybe like a bruschetta, like a basil tomato bruschetta on top. That one's really good. I just love purely because it's delicious.
Okay.
But something recently I actually just made the other night was a So this is the thing where you guys know what favorite thing to cook. It depends. It really depends on the time and the
Yeah.
season. But another one is like I made it. It's a tilapia spinach curry, and that was really good.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's like you make a little butter sauce and with your curry in there, and then you get some spinach. Yeah, it's just really
good. For all you that drooling now. Yeah. All right, that's really cool. And like, I mean, even there's a few things I didn't know what you were talking about, but it sounds good still. But like, I mean, obviously you really like what you do. So obviously you like cooking. What made it where you wanted to go with your career? Like what made you, start cooking professionally? What was like, was it just convenience of like, cause I mean, I know food is something very easy to get into, like you work at a McDonald's, whatever, like it's like fast food is a really easy industry to get into. But what was
funny thing is I've never done fast food.
I did not know that. Okay.
No, but getting into food, it was passively how I started out at camp, right? So that was passively. I didn't even start out in food service at camp in general. It was just a side thing that I like to do. So I knew that direction was a good place to go.
Okay.
Because I already had a propensity and some knowledge of it from cooking for myself at home and stuff. So I guess that's kind of like how I ended up in it. Would be camp here.
Okay. So you started just like that was one of the many jobs you did. What kind of helped you kind of push that way and kind of?
Well, I was going to say is how I ended up in it, but what I wanted to do very early on, and that's changed since then, adapted environments and all.
Okay.
But I wanted to open up a restaurant, and I was kind of like this whole dance, studio bar, with the fully functioning restaurant going in the late hours. Because I've realized, especially, going out late after, high school and growing up and, becoming after minor and all that, going out to bars and clubs, it was always like never enough good food. It was all just trash food usually.
Yeah, they kind of like
the good Mexican places that were open. That's always good food.
Yeah, but that was like, here's some fries and stuff. Yeah, here's a quesadilla. Yeah.
It wasn't like really good food to pair with it. So that's kind of like that was like the whole push that I wanted to go in, I would say, but how that's changed over years. And that was always just a stepping stone of the end goal, right?
Okay.
You have like those grand goals of becoming like an astronaut and those type of things. Well, my thing was, all right, well, I want to have one of the first restaurants and the first hotel in space. Essentially, it was one of the first goals. Now, obviously, reality changes those goals as you get older.
Yeah.
Now, they don't necessarily have to end them. It just changes how you plan it out and what the end goal is going to look out at what time frame.
Yeah.
But that was kind of like the end goal. So that's the thing that drove me towards it, was like having this very niche.
That's a really good aspiration. Like that's how old were you when you wanted to do that? Like,
that I was young, and then that kind of like stuck with it. It just evolved over time.
I mean, that's still vaguely possible right now, and like as technology keeps improving, because I think right now Elon Musk is talking about colonizing Mars or something.
Well, okay. If you want to get me on, I'm more passionate about space. I would say I'm equally passionate about space as I am. No, I'm more passionate about space and colonization and space travel and that.
Okay.
And every advancement we make in that direction, more so than I would say food. Food is just a side thing. But,
okay.
When compared to that, and honestly,
okay,
compared to that, because that is one thing that has always proven humanity's grandeur when working together. So it takes, like this last year, right through 2020, they launched Perseverance Mars rover with Ingenuity helicopter. They did that. Well, they've been planning and working on it for 8 years now, so it's not new. But they were able to pull off the execution and all of this. The most important time frame really for this is getting everything ready to launch and then touchdown throughout a pandemic. And to me and it took so many different types of people and everyone worked together. It's a good thing. It shows what we can do when we're together. Side note, on the food thing, there are a plan to open up a hotel in like 2023 or 2026 or something like that. They're going to begin construction in 2023 and I think open it, projected at least, to open it, I think in 2026. Don't quote me. I'm probably wrong, but I think those are the dates. Yeah.
Hey, we're not going to.
I've been talking. I'm trying to get everybody interested, and that's kind of like it's actually a new thing. Or I would say we're entering the new space race because China, Saudi Arabia, there was the EAU, JAXA, Of course, we're working with some of them, the Russian cosmonauts. They're all planning a lot of endeavors in space.
Yeah.
It's very much ramping up again. And I think that's a good thing. So we'll see.
Right. So you started with like wanting to be the first restaurant owner in a hotel in space. Yeah. And that kind of pushed you towards,
or at least working the thing. I didn't never say owner, man. I'll mop the floors.
All right. Okay. Well, I guess that makes sense when you put it into perspective, like which one you're more passionate about. Yeah. All right.
I guess one is I think you should be passionate in everything you do in life. So like being passionate about here at camp, I love what we do here. Is because there is something about food that concept does and continues with the other passions. With everything you do in life, I think you're passionate about is it brings people together. And it's a way of communication. I think that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
So
awesome. So, moving on a little bit, I think I kind of know where you're going to go with this, but I still want to hear you answer this. What is your favorite part about being a professional cook?
Favorite part?
Yes. And be totally honest, if it's the creation side of like putting the food together, if it's the guests, if it's whatever it is, like just
sometimes the guests. I mean, I would say the whole production as a whole, I would say, is what it's all about. So when the whole picture and everything comes together and gets pulled off in the end. So from like cooking in the back, that part's awesome. Making the food, trying to make it as delicious and flavorful as possible within the restraints of what we do and here and everything. And to how that translates to their seating area, their experience, the whole dining experience, the staff's experience, our staff on who's working with you. Are we having a good time pulling this off for people? And then the end result is to the point that people have time to fellowship, be together, and be sustained as well. So it's a whole big picture full, I would say.
That sounds very much like a conductor talking about an orchestra. It's like, what's your favorite instrument? It's like the whole thing when we all practice and everything works together and the audience likes it. And so, I mean, that's really cool. I was expecting it to be like the fellowship and stuff like that and the bringing together, but I mean, that's awesome. So now let's flip to the other side. Okay. Favorite part. What's your least favorite part? And be honest.
People. Simple as all right. People.
In what aspect? Like, there's a lot of ways that can be taken.
Yeah, there are a lot of ways. Especially these days, right? So people, guests, generally the ones you're serving, will have an expectation when you feed them. Now, this 50-50% sometimes. Sometimes you're going to have amazing people and they're just absolutely wonderful. Other times, they think they know how to do your job better than you do. Okay. And in some cases, they very well might, because they very well might be in food service. And then they are a special type of people to serve sometimes. But they can be equally as bad. And I'm guilty of this going to other places, where you get a little judgmental, a little uppity on your standards. Sure. But it's the conflict with people that's unnecessary, I would say, because there's generally a much easier way to get through conflicts, like talking, rather than people being, very emotional. And when people are hungry and they don't receive something that they want, or into their perception of what they had paid for or deserved, or in that ground, they're generally on not the most reasonable time in their life,
the whole hangry state is not a fun one to deal with.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that, and then also on the flip side of that is when working with other people in a kitchen and everything, and because everything's time sensitive and it can be hot and greasy, and especially like when you're doing big productions for 400 people or something like that, which is a lot of fun, but there's a lot of stress level involved in that, and how other people deal with and interpret those stress levels and the conflicting personalities, that can get very complex very quickly. And especially working at a summer camp where not everyone is in that kitchen, say, throughout the week you work with the same crews, you develop familiarity and everything, and kind of like this groove on how to work with each other. That doesn't really happen with what we do. It can, and it does to a certain extent, but the nature of it kind of prevents you from becoming the ever perfect machine, at least with the systems we have now. Yeah. And that can be frustrating because dealing with other people and their views on what they want to have done compared to what certain things have been agreed upon to be done. And then, so those conflicts that are unnecessary, in my opinion, and kind of, frankly, just a waste of time. They're entirely a waste of time. And you can get around them much easier, but then there's personalities that tend to throw that in a loop. And I'm not the most, phrase that. I'm not the best person at dealing with a bunch of different personalities that waste time and stuff.
Okay.
Like it, or at least that I feel. And of course, this is my own point of view, so I'm pretty sure the others are, and whoever else is, on the flip side of this would view, the same ways. It's just, it gets, it gets, it just gets to you a little bit.
People are interesting.
It's not even the food part or the challenge, because that challenge, and sometimes when things go wrong, it is awesome because you can learn from that, and that's the most challenging thing. So that part's kind of cool. So the food part's kind of fun. Now I would say the heat, maybe, I could do with it, a little.
So can I cook with a lower heat and still get the same result?
Can we just have it like below 90?
Can that oven be like 75 and still cook that turkey?
Dear, 75.
So I was trying to make a lighthearted joke, and I just realized you're like, Joel, that doesn't work at all.
No. Well, yeah, it works. You want to die.
All right. Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate your honesty. Like I said, I find that one of the most interesting questions to ask personally. I mean, I really like finding out what makes people do what they do. And I really like finding out what, even in their most passionate thing, what they don't like. Because no matter how much you love something, there's going to be something that's going to be like, I wish they could just whatever. And it's always interesting because, like, maybe it's someone that's like their whole thing. Maybe it's a therapist, and like, I just really don't like dealing with people. It's like, but I love dealing with the problems. Like, oh, okay, that's an interesting, like, in my eyes, a dilemma. But I mean, I'm sure it works for them. So it's just interesting for me to find those things out. Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, like, are great and all, but we can convolute problems a lot.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Usually there's a much faster and streamlined solution you could like get to and circumvent all this other, switchbacks.
That's why we have the phrase "mountain out of a molehill."
Yeah, exactly.
It's because we're a talented group of people that can add stuff on and make something that it was almost unnoticeable into this really, really big deal. So, I mean, I get that. So on your journey, as you've been going from just cooking at home to being a professional cook, what was harder than you thought it was going to be? Something that you were like, well, they're making a big deal out of that. Maybe you're watching chefs on cooking shows or hearing people complain about it. And like, come on, that's got to be super easy. And then you got there like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Like anything in that like range of stuff of like, just something
learning. It's twofold. Skill wise, I would say it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be because I tend to pick some of that up a little fast. And I didn't recognize it at the time. That's for entirely other different reasons. Take care of mental health, all. But learning from that and recognizing that I was learning quickly and all that through the skill wise part, it was pretty awesome. And that's great because cooking isn't easy. In general, when you're cooking just for yourself, it's pretty easy. Yeah. When you're cooking for, a lot of different people to specific recipes to, on a budget and all things like that, it can get a little complex. And then you want to develop menus. You want to be able to hit people's senses. You want to wow them. You want to get them captivated. It's more than just throwing slop on a plate, like a school cafeteria. That's part of what we're trying to do is like redefine camp food, So within that is like, so the skill wise was a little bit easier than I thought, because that wasn't that bad.
Okay.
What I would say to that is the endurance level with that, from doing week-long groups back to back, that was something. So that was hard. So getting the stamina and the endurance to be able to do that, on very little hours of sleep, and you're working a lot of hours in the kitchen. And then on the other side of that, I have to go back to people. Hardest thing is dealing with people, dealing with personalities.
So you thought that dealing with people is going to be a little easier?
Oh yeah, I thought that was going to be.
You're like, it's just people, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's people.
Especially what it is. I mean, this does to some degree translate throughout all of life, or stages of life. It's like just different stages of high school. There's always going to be some people with the same mentalities as high school, and when those transfer over, it's needless and unnecessary sometimes, and that creates problems. And I'm guilty of my own problems. I get caught up in my own stuff. So, and I further, just exacerbate my own problems in that case.
Yeah. I mean, it's always good to know that someone knows that too about themselves. Cause like, I like how you admit, like when you go to other places, when cooking like food establishments, you're like, but and so you understand that you're not above your own critiques, which is good. It means
everyone. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Everyone should have the ability to be introspective. You should look at and examine yourself and try to continuously grow. And with that, you have to confront some stuff. You need to be able to accept your own shortcouts and try to work on them.
I say, if you can't laugh at yourself, you shouldn't laugh at anyone else.
Exactly.
So you kind of touched on the second part of this question, which is, what was something that you thought was going to be hard, but was a lot easier than you thought? You touched on it a little bit. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that?
It's an ever-changing thing, I would say. So like always learning, that pursuit is more enjoyable than it may seem at the first, like finding joy in the pursuit of continual learning, and progression. I think this is very important, two very important concepts. And that part I really, really like. I think, yeah, I'd have to say that those two things, continuing doing that, that's something that seemed a little bit, I found more enjoyable as time went on.
Okay.
So, you realize that it's never ending. And if you do, then you stop learning, in which case then there's really no point to continue that profession.
So you found the fact that it's you found it as a challenge almost to like continually to learn, to enjoy that. Okay, cool. Yeah. That's really cool. So here's I don't know. This might be one of my favorite questions. It's really close between that and like, what's your least favorite part of your passion? Is what do you wish more people knew? Like as a whole, when like I know there's always something in every sort of passion. There's always something that like you just wish people understood this about
the basics of cooking. Right?
No, maybe it's even like customers that like just expect something out of you, or maybe it's the staff you work with or something. But like, what's something you just wish you could like tell every single person on the planet at once about like cooking or food service, anything? Like what's one or maybe two things that you wish just more people knew that was more general knowledge?
One is safety, food safety. It's general because to go into that specifically, but if I had to have picked one part of food safety, would be at least food safety temperatures for food. Because that's how a lot of people end up sick, and it's just, it's funny. Or no, maybe not funny. Ironic is a better way to say it, because it's very easy to make food safe. But food safety,
it's a simple thing, and it's silly kind of silly that people don't understand that.
Yeah.
Okay. I can understand. I can get that.
And another one is that you got to put love in your food, that it's important.
Okay.
No matter what love and passion. I'm saying this into food service and you want to know about food service, but it's important though. These concepts, and they go into other things too, of course, but it's important.
No, you're only allowed to things that only apply to food.
Okay, in which case, hold the knife right?
No. Like you got plenty of room. Go for it.
But love and passion, it's important, and to have that in what you do, like have it in food. People are like, oh, you can taste the food because there's passion and love in it. That's like a whole concept that's familiar with this. You can kind of tell when people aren't, even with bland food for that matter. And bland isn't bad. People like bland food. There's a lot of people that like just basic flavor, not complex or intricate.
And into Europe, no.
Exactly. And you say that too, and it's interesting, because you can find a lot of that, and it's night and day. You'll find a lot and it's really cool because it tells a story.
No, I mean, bland. A lot of people give bland a lot of gaff, especially in America, where everything has to be really rich in flavor. But there's definitely times where like just a nice piece of bread is great. And it's like, no, not like zucchini bread or pumpkin bread. No, just can you have some like wheat bread? So I can like cool down my mouth. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think those things are important. Like,
you just wish more people actually put that into their food and just work in general.
Definitely into their food. Because a lot of it, especially when it comes to food, like I said, it's a necessity, right? So it becomes, I do it too. I'll be instanced, I'm going to go home. I'm going to eat some packaged food. That's going to be delicious and bad for me. But, those times are fine and that's great. But when you do cook for yourself, you should more often. Everyone should know how. And if anything, this year has told me that rarely do people cook for themselves or know how to. It's just interesting. I didn't realize that many people, and especially I would say in our generation, that don't know how to cook for themselves. And
Yeah.
It's such an important thing. And when you do, it's even if you mention the ramen, right?
Mhm.
Turning that top ramen into something with a little extra spice or something, it doesn't matter what you do to it.
Mhm.
Heck, if it's how you cook the noodles, right? And if you just put it to where you like it, to where it gives you a little bit more joy because you're putting some passion and love into it, even if it's for yourself. Because I found I lost that for a while, is where you, especially as I know some cooks go through this, is like when you cook for yourself, just for yourself, it's like, nah, because you're cooking for all these other people and you want to make it perfect for them. But when you cook for yourself, like whatever, just finding and making sure that you keep that passion and love and going in it.
It's not something you put on yourself when you're doing something. It's something that you have for food.
The way I look at it, the majority of humans on Earth are going to have to cook for themselves for the rest of your lives, right? So why not make it an enjoyable experience?
That's a really good way to look at it. Like, I mean, not that I have to
at least once a day,
Like I do cook for myself, but I mean, like, yeah, I mean, yeah, you might as well enjoy something you have to do for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So, I mean, wow. All right. So if you had a magic snap, you could just snap and get to your ideal space, like your ideal whatever it is, like you didn't have to hassle and put all that in. Like if you could just like, if you snapped, what would you be at? Where would you be? What would you be doing ideally?
So this leads into like fantasy a lot on this one. Like, so we're going to go into that whole thing, but because it's a real possibility in 10, 20 years. Well, it's a real possibility in 5 years, but not for me, obviously. But I mean, I'm just saying in general. So I'm going to say this pretense to what I'm about to say. Is now that this new space age is taking off, right? And as we increase in technology, right? The hope and desire is, right? The same people that, 10, 20 years ago, hope that we might have reusable rockets, which are now going to be a real thing. My hope is as the commercial space industry grows and as this effort of colonization grows, not just for Mars, but for the moon, much, much closer, grows exponentially each year, is that it leaves room for me to position my butt somewhere involved in the food administration or botany in general. I mean, I believe orbital gardens are a good way to go.
Okay.
I'm not the one who has that money for these type of ideas, though. So,
no, this is why it's a magic snap. This is why it's a magic snap. You don't have to worry about how much money you're spending on this.
To be an intricate part in the food administration and just kind of like that, the commercial space industry in that, okay. and through that, even if Musk wants to open up a city on Mars, and yeah, sure. And the fact is, like, and even everyone says this, the more likely you are to be the first group of people or first million that go, you most likely are not going to live. Generally, you will die at some point out there. You're not coming back, and that's fine. That's an acceptable journey. Because I think this goes deeper into everything. More and more philosophical thoughts about life and passions that go beyond just what you do or food. But again,
this is your space. Go ahead and dive into it.
Our desire to explore is boundless, right? I mean, and it's innate in all of us too. It's not just one culture loves to explore. Every single one is spread out in some manner, right? And it's just really cool. Now, some do become closed in, but we can talk about those reasons. That gets very complex. Yeah, geopolitical is generally a lot of those reasons, but or resource wise.
But I mean, the exploration, even if it's not like a physical, there's still like the inventions of like and books. I mean, authors are explore inside. Authors know no country lines or anything. There's authors everywhere, and that is definitely an exploration. So like, we all like to explore.
Yeah, whether it's the metaphysical or the physical, we explore in both directions.
Yes.
We love it, and our minds continuously do that. We have this desire to do so.
Yeah,
and I find the beauty in that. And we're meant to witness it. I think we're meant to witness everything that's been created, and I think that's the next thing that we're collectively getting to a chance to do, and we're getting a chance to start something on a planet that's essentially a clean slate. So it's like we can either learn from what we've done here, everything, and I'm talking everything here, and then do better out there. And I think there's a chance that we might do that. Now, it takes a lot of moving parts, a lot of people, and a lot of people in charge to make the proper decisions, and that for the right reasons. Yeah, and that's always because even for Musk, whether or not I truly think the guy is awesome, and just brilliant in every manner, but not even those intentions are 100% true. We all have our own selfish intentions, right? So I guess it comes down to like that. I hope. The ideal goal is to be in a position to where we've made the right choices as humanity to do the best thing moving forward. in that exploration zone, I would say, because I don't know if we're going to get it right here. I mean, 8 billion people, as resources get thinner and thinner, as ideologies get, people start making concrete stands and not willing to compromise or understand from a different point of view and work together. As those walls increase, tension generally just increases. If you look at history, it's natural.
Yeah, I mean, the more rigid everyone gets, the more something's likely to break.
Exactly.
And that's a very old philosophy or philosophical phrase or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's an old something that I've known for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's. Okay. I think it's. I hope to be in that type of position. Now, to get there, though, you need a lot of resources.
Well, yeah,
and
again,
to make the right choices.
That's why, again,
10, 20 years.
That's why I phrase it with the magic snap, because like there's a lot of things like, well, I wish that I had this, but there's no way that's gonna happen.
Or that if at least we find out aliens are real. Because I'll become a person for an alien. I'll be doing that.
Learn their new cuisine.
Exactly.
Okay.
I bet you we could make friends. We just sat down over a meal.
Hey, I mean, like I said earlier, almost every major holiday on Earth is accompanied by a specific a range of food that we usually eat.
Yeah.
And there's pieces a lot often made with food.
Yeah.
That's why I come with a peace offering is often like I brought you, takeout or something. Or chocolate or something.
Isn't that such a crazy thought, which is that we would be, let's just say a group of people, right, inside a dining hall on the moon, right? Just eating a meal together over it, and it not be a completely militarized fashion. They will, of course, be the first ones to start it out because generally what drives these goals are geopolitical aspirations. Yeah. So, and for whoever, those are definitely not the right reasons, but they do get stuff done. Yeah. So,
it's unfortunate when the wrong reasons are the most effective reasons.
Yes. But the people involved in it can do it for the right reasons. The scientists, the arts, and all that, because all that is supposed to be involved in this next endeavor. And that's the point, is to just fully expand humanity's presence in our solar system, which is, I think it's cool. I think it's the next thing, that can help us with maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I
in the meantime,
I will say if you allow me, I definitely think that it's awesome that we are exploring the universe, but I will also say until spaceships are a normal thing, I'm not going up there. I have a fear of heights because of bad making of things. Like this includes like trees, like tree forts that people made badly, like anything that's like starts to get rickety or like I'm unsure of, that doesn't have a very safe way down, I get scared. So like sending me up to space where if anything goes wrong I explode and die is like nah, I'm good.
I mean, you technically wouldn't explode, but yeah.
But the general concept that goes through my head.
That's another thing I find the beauty in it, and the adrenaline too, is that every single thing is trying to kill you. Everything. Everything's trying to kill you.
If we don't colonize anything, you're going to move to Australia.
They got spiders. There ain't no spiders in space. Now, if we find other spiders in space, then I'm just done for. But
first alien's going to be spider arachnid. Sorry.
If it is, I am not going to be okay.
I guess I'm digging a hole in Earth and going down.
Me and my fellow arachnophobia is going to disappear quickly. Or just surround ourselves with fire.
Not going to lie, I'm not arachnophobic, but if I see like alien spider things, I'm not going to be the first ones to trust them.
Yeah.
I will say that. I will be honest.
I think there'll just be a general distrust. Based off of
there's a few just general things that most people are just distrusting of. If there's snake aliens, people are not going to be very like. I'm just. This is all
assuming if aliens are real.
I know.
Statistically,
I'm making a hypothetical commentary on just what we're talking about. I know this is very off topic, but it's a fun conversation, and
it is fun. I love talking about it.
But I'm just saying, like, there's going to be some things that are like, I'm sorry, aliens, this is nothing against you. It's our Earth stuff. I'm sorry. It's going to take us a while.
Give us some time.
I know you guys are awesome. We've seen it, but just can't get over the scales, buddy. I'm sorry. It's not personal. The 8 legs are just not doing it for me, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Give me a minute. Yeah. All right. Getting back onto topic in a more general way. Just because, like, I know I don't ask every question that you want to talk about. So, is there anything that sticks out to you that you just really would like to talk about? Anything that I've just missed? Because I'm sure there is, but was this something that you want to talk about regarding food service or cooking or
cooking? So on the food thing, I would have to. One thing I love, and I think I love doing here and being experienced more, is seeing people gain skills in that, and like that are fundamentary to life. I think I think like cooking for yourself, being able to do that safely in a good way, just on the bare basics. What we do here is not Le Cordon Bleu, is not a gourmet thing by any means, but it does give people, and generally, because I'm gonna back up here. So like growing up, right, I knew how to cook. That was like a skill I had very early on. I thought everyone had that. And then now meeting people my own age and even some older than me who don't know how to cook or take care of themselves, it is like crazy to me. I'm like, how can you do that and survive in this world?
Like, you're how old? You're 30 and you don't know how to boil water?
Yeah, it's
cook just spaghetti. You put it in, you stir it until it's soft. And then you drain it, and yeah. I've had those moments of just like, what do you eat every day?
Yeah, it's surprising, and I think to some degree it has to do with like our culture now, and like how it's okay and just simply go out all the time and get food, and life is busy, so it's just go out, and by all means, because those places need to be supported, especially right now, but at the same time, it's like doesn't mean because you have a luxury, and that's what it is. Frankly, and it is an industry. Practically 40% of the country is in the food service or hospitality industry. So, or no, actually, if you want to include hospitality, it's much more than like 60% or something like that. Yeah. But it's insane, right? So yes, it's very, very much an important factor of our society, but cooking for yourself, you should still be able to have these skills, because you make memories and moments over them at home, or you go to your friends out and camping and see you make a really cool meal over a fire pit, very rudimentary stuff, but you make this really cool meal because you know how to do it. And being able to see the people kind of gain those is really cool. So, which,
by the way, audience, I have actually been with him on a camping trip when he cooks some of these really amazing meals. And I'm like, where, like, not in the middle of nowhere, but like there's no like industrial kitchen out here. This is impressive. So like, yeah, I've seen that happen. If you guys have never experienced it yourselves, like having a really good meal out in the woods somewhere.
Oh yeah, camp food doesn't have to just be or camping food. It doesn't have to be just hot dogs and burgers.
Yeah,
cool stuff. But of course, hot dogs and burgers are good too.
They definitely are. Yeah, I mean, yeah, in my mind, food, water, and shelter are like the 3 basic
survivalist,
basic skills that everyone needs to, and everyone needs to understand like where to get them, how to get them. Like for me, like I think like if you get lost in the woods somewhere or something like that, like you should know where to find food, what is edible, where to find water, what is drinkable, and where to find shelter, what is livable.
Yeah.
And so like, I mean, like
how to create your own shelter, that's important too.
Oh yeah. But those 3 things are like the very basics. And then, I almost forgot one, heat too. Like you should know what burns and how to burn it. Like, but like those things are how you survive if you get lost in the woods or anywhere, and at least the basics. And it's astounding when like, I'm how have you gone this long in your life? How have you survived this far?
And it's the marvel of modern society. It's because of all of our modern advancements through technology, social economic standing, the very standard of living, the base level, I mean, and that is up to, it's very, very political and all that, but whatever people want to agree where it's at, it's much better than it was in the past.
Oh, definitely.
Overall, at least, right?
I mean, years ago, like even like just a few years before we were born, like cell phones were a luxury. Well, I mean, that was after we were born.
Okay, I don't know what your childhood was like, but it was
my brain switched
up until I got out of
my brain switched to the actual phrase I was going to use. between before we were born, cell phones weren't a thing.
Because I'm pretty sure we were still born
Yes.
when these TVs were like, they had the whole back to them. Kids nowadays, they don't even understand it.
They don't know why it's called a tube.
Or 8-track players and cassette players.
No, what I meant was before we were born,
are becoming an outdated thing at this point.
Cell phones weren't even really a thing.
Yeah.
And now they're considered a quote unquote basic necessity. It's like, well, I don't have a phone. It's like, wait, I mean, yes, a lot of things revolve around them, and a lot of jobs and things like they basically require you to, but like a few years ago, that was a luxury. Like when we were growing up, like it was like the rich kids had cell phones, and it's like, wow, he's cool.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh wow, the 8-year-old has an iPhone 12.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
And I think to some degree, those are why some of those other skills kind of fell off, because those skills that were naturally, inherent or inert in kind of in your life, they have fallen off because the necessity hasn't been there. The other generation didn't really see the need to transfer those skills over.
And I'll honestly say, like, some of it I will blame on cell phones, is like when you don't have to, like, when I can reach over here and reach over to my table and like, how do I cook spaghetti? I don't need to.
Well, I would say even to that extent, it's not necessarily the technology itself, right?
Well, it's the mindset. Yeah, the mindset is like, well, why do I need to learn how to cook it when I can look it up, when I can Google or Siri it?
And that's the part that I don't connect with, though, because like how I learn most of everything I know is off of this phone. I've learned off of this Google, so like that's I think is a problem.
That's a mindset, though. Is like some people, they use it as a crutch.
Yeah, you're right.
Where others use it as a boat to cross something. Mm-hmm. Like it's a gateway. Some it's what they use to get there, and then they come back for it to get them back.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait, no, you're swinging on the gate in and out of the it's like, no, learn from it. But that like I said, it's a mindset of like, if I always have this phone next to me, I don't need to learn anything, which I'm guilty of when it comes to like phone numbers. My older, all of my older siblings, they know most of their contacts. They could go to a payphone if they could find one, and they could dial most of their contacts by memory.
Like long division is virtually done at this point. Like, and I'm okay with. I think to this degree, we can rely on technology a fair amount. We have the textbooks. If we need to, we can go back and relearn this stuff. Yeah. But when it comes to math, I fully lean on technology. I fully use it as a
right there with you.
I feel you on that one.
but I mean, like, but again, like phone numbers are like, that's contact information. Where if you lose your phone, you can't be like, hey, can I borrow your phone? And
just an example of leaning on it too much because you need it.
Yeah, like I do know my number, and I know like most of my family members, like some of my family members' numbers. But like, I'll be honest, like. If I lose my phone and I don't have anything to look it up on, I'm going to be there like, I can call a few people. But I mean, like, but with context, that's like something that, like, I can say like, yeah, sure. That's an acceptable thing as long as you know a few, but like, I would not go like, hey, you guys need to go out and learn your context. But like, people use it for cooking, and they'll use it like the context of like, well, I'll look it up and then I'll forget it because I don't need it because it's right here.
Yeah, no retention in the information.
Until you don't have your phone, or your phone died and you're in the middle of the forest and going, is this mushroom going to kill me?
Yeah.
Or is this just a normal one? Or will I go crazy? It's like, I learned how to do that. You see what the, like, especially if like, well, in certain areas, mostly I just don't touch mushrooms in the wild. But if I have to, I'm really looking at like, okay, what are the deer eating? The deers are eating that. Those are the ones that I'm going to be okay with. Yes. The deer are not walking near this. Not going to touch it. And, that's something that a lot
it's growing high up on an oak. It's okay. It's a chicken in the
woods. I don't know that much, but there's certain skills that like, I know you and I were taught like how to know where water is. And like, hey, go towards the trees and the growing things. It's like, and I've heard people like, oh, I didn't even realize there's water over. It's like, why do you think all the trees are right there? Yeah. It's like, but
those fundamental aspects of survival.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like I said, like people use it as a crutch of like, well, if I have the information, I don't need to retain the information. Mm-hmm. And so I definitely think like the technology isn't to blame. It's the mindset of the technology of like, well, I don't need to use this. I don't need to remember this. I can store other useless facts in here instead of, the ones that I actually need.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
a good point.
it's definitely interesting.
Point.
Like I said, like I've dealt with a lot of the same people you have with the what I was like, how do you not know how to wash dishes?
Mm-hmm.
I grew up washing dishes.
Yeah.
It's like, maybe not in an industrial kitchen, but I know how to scrub food off. And yeah.
Well, it's like those are small skills when applied to life. You can apply the same things of knowing how to do your laundry, right, to being an engineer. It's just knowing how to do a process and learning. And in fact, that's probably a wrong example because there's some people that are crazy smart that are some things, don't know how to do, and vice versa. But,
supposedly, Einstein couldn't tie his own shoes.
Exactly.
I've heard that. I don't know if it's true, but
everybody has their own short things.
Yeah. Where you exceed in something, some things are going to be a shortcoming. So
yeah. We're all ignorant in something in this life.
Well, yeah, definitely. I'm not going to say that I'm like, no, I know everything. I definitely have my shortcomings where I just admit, I don't know math.
Well, that'll be my thing. So I'll be in kitchen, right? And someone asks me a question. I'm like, wow. Okay. So, it takes me a second to be like, okay, just, they don't know. Don't be stupid. Don't be mean. Be nice. They don't know. Because it could be a very simple question. And to me, sometimes, I think that's the whole thing about perception is you have this view of oh, okay, for me, this is so easy or rudimentary or habitual. This is point. Basic. Yeah. And you just it's common sense. And you're like, wow, you have no common sense, but maybe that's not the case. It's their perception of their reality, their life. They just don't have those.
I've had that more specifically for me. It's building fires. I was taught how to build fires.
Oh, yeah.
You need oxygen, the chemistry of a fire.
Yeah.
And the structure of a fire, building, stacking the logs, and when people are sitting there, I'm watching them shove everything together because they think the closer everything is, the better the fire will be. I'm like, it's got to breathe, and I'm sitting there. You're like, come on, people. I'm like, well, a lot of other people didn't grow up having to deal with fires. They have thermostat, they go tap. That's a good point. And it's like, woo, or they pull out their Duralog or whatever, and or they turn on the propane in their backyard. And I'm like, okay, so for me this is a basic skill, but I grew up differently. I think you and I can agree on this. We both feel like we grew up a little older than everyone else our age.
Yes,
just because we were.
It's that old school upbringing, essentially. Is what it is.
And but yeah. Anyway, but yeah, kind of. Yeah, so it's good to know you appreciate giving helping people learn those skills as far as cooking goes, because you probably saved someone's life just long term because they didn't starve slowly.
This is good for someone in life. That's good. It is somewhat fulfilling, because at least it's something that everyone in this life, you generally want to make some sort of impact. At least the majority of us do. Or maybe that's a erroneous statement. Anyway, I like to think that most of us try to want to make an impact. And then, if that's achievable, at least in some manner, through any job you have, whether you're working at McDonald's and you're a supervisor helping someone out, or you're flipping burgers, and at least you're going to make sure that person has a good burger that day. It's those little impacts make the most, I think, in the end. It's not the large, those are great moments, of course, but those everyday impacts, those little ones are pretty cool.
I do have a question for you. Another one that I just thought of. Do you have a moment or two that stood out to you that really one of those this moment makes everything worth it type moments, something that whoa, I really made an impact on someone's life? Do you have anything like that you feel comfortable sharing? No worries. Take your time.
This is a good question. There's a couple times that come to mind right now, actually. Which is interesting that happens a couple times come to mind right now. But that's a toughie. I would have to say, when some of the kids, it was one of our first Statio groups, had come up, and they were just into food service in general. I would say into food. I say food service. They're into cooking, into restaurants, and that type of stuff. And they had seen this movie about summer camp or whatever that was really cool. But their image of someone who who was kind of running things and everything, was this older person, right? You know, been doing it for 30 years, whatnot, and all that. But then like they were just really caught off guard by like, because I was the one running things, and it was really cool. I mean, that was one of the first times I was running something like that. So it was, you know, it was obviously challenging for me. I mean, it was kind of like reveling in the challenge. It was a lot of fun. It was very fulfilling, very, very fun. And seeing everyone have, you know, being able to, it was a great time. As you know, Stacia is up here. It's a wonderful time when everyone's get together. And they just really didn't think that, I don't know, for some reason they're brilliant. They're much smarter. Obviously, each generation is smarter than the last one. So like they could easily learn everything I'm doing much faster and do it better. They just didn't, for some reason, whether it be just their self-esteem or where they were at, didn't feel like, oh, you know, they could do that, and they connected with me on that, and I didn't know why. And I still don't know why, but it was really cool to see them be so like impacted by the fact that seeing someone putting hard work in, which is what I believe that's one of my core values, is that you work 100% hard in everything you do. And when you do, the fruits of that are just awesome.
Absolutely.
Most of the time, maybe not all the time. You have some losses in everything in life.
But you do feel that sense of accomplishment usually of like you at least tried your best. Like you put everything into it. So that was you basically were at least a small role model for high school senior at what? How old were you at the time?
That's a good question. I don't remember.
20
how many years have we been doing this?
Like
I think I was 20. I think I was 20.
20?
We've been doing it 6 years, right? So it had to have been 20. I think it was 20 or 21.
Okay. So as a 21-year-old, you got to be a bit of a role model for, you know, this high school senior that was like, wow.
Well, likely there was this one guy here that worked here that had called me a mentor at one point. That was more scary than it was feeling like, wow. Now it's more of like a wow thing. And I still don't understand it, and I think they could find better ones. But, you know, it was a very much of an impactful.
So you've had people like tell you like, hey, wow, this is like really cool. And like, I look up to you, and you're just like, what did I do?
You were there like over a couple, this goes into more times, I guess. So it's multiple times and all around the same thing. But like even staff meeting where people, you know, we have this really cool exercise where you write nice things about it. And everyone has so many nice things to say about me at the time. And that was like something that was, wow, you know, it was just impactful, very impactful on me.
So it's mostly for you, like the biggest payoffs, so to speak, not like emotional payoffs are when, you know, you find out you've made a very big impact on like a specific person.
A positive impact. Yes, a positive.
Yes, a positive. Thank you for clarifying. This guy sent this lady away crying. It was fantastic. No, it's positive. But like the biggest moments are like when you find out like you had a big positive impact on a specific person. That person has come forward and be like, hey, this means a lot. Like, this is impressive. I look up to you and stuff like that.
It doesn't even have to be that too. It's not even like it's just that I made a positive impact, I would say. Because sometimes it's like the whole, like, I look up to you thing that scared the crap out of me. For lack of, you know, it was just that, because there's a responsibility in that when someone does. I mean, and I don't, you know, I didn't really like that, especially at the time when I'm still figuring things out in my life, you know. Like, of course, that's a lifelong endeavor. You're always going to be figuring things out. Role model.
I don't even know what I'm doing yet.
Exactly. You know, that's totally went through my head. But, you know, sometimes it's just the fact that, okay, they can tell that I really do care about people, you know, like, because that's something I do want people to know about me, that I do care about people. Because I don't necessarily express that by words all the best of times. And especially when I'm working. You
put your love and passion into the food and try and give them the best
into the bigger picture, you know. Yeah. And then I don't always like to hang out and talk with people because it's just, I'm just not good at that all the time. But talks like this are good. It's meaningful, deep, that type of thing is really cool.
Yeah.
You know, so, and also sometimes I just don't connect with other people, but I still care about them. So I want them to know that, you know, in some manner that I do. And if they are able to actually get that, that's like awesome. You know,
so
cool, you know?
So for you, it'd be more like they received the message that I care. And
they love
being able to get something back going like, oh, someone actually noticed.
It all boils down to what I want to leave my life by, which is by unconditional love. And it's
a really good way to live your life, by the way.
It is challenging. And I think the reason why I wanted it is because I know I have, in life, humans have a duality, right? You got to choose what side you want to go on, essentially what wolf you want to feed. There's always that comparison.
Yeah.
And so because of that and knowing that, and if you've ever been in like a darker place in your life, getting, you decide on, you make a choice, a very conscious choice on what you want to feed. And if you actually get to see that, the fruits of that, people being positively impacted, people leaving the dining hall with a smile, people I know, coworkers, everything leaving with a smile, people gain the skill. I mean, really happy about it and proud of themselves type of deal. And just being a small part of helping them do that or helping them find the direction for that. Which helps me learn too. And so there's another side of this too, where there's always constant learning through human interaction, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I guess, just the overall having a positive impact on this world. So
that's sort of cool. It's very wholesome too. Just like, just knowing, because like, I know for myself, like there's times where like, I just don't feel like I'm making an impact. And like, so those moments where you actually hear like, it's just been a lot that you're here. I'm like, okay, I am doing something right.
Yeah.
So that's why phrases like getting the feedback, like the positive feedback back of like someone actually noticing that, like not necessarily that it's you that like they left with a positive something.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Gotcha. All right. Anything else that comes to mind of like that you want to talk about or anything?
No, I think it's cool you're doing this.
Yeah. Well, this is my passion. Yeah, I like to know what makes people do what they do. So I enjoy this, and I'm hoping that like, I just hope that people will listen to this episode and like, maybe this will be the spark that gets them into cooking or whatever. Yeah.
I would have to say this, like, it doesn't matter what you're passionate about, or if you're passionate about 20, this is something I'm okay. Let me speak English. That I am getting reinvigorated with is, especially this last year, gives you a lot of time for introspection, and especially if you're at some point feeling down and all that, and you come back up from that, and and that there's always that roller coaster of life, is that when you revisit your older passions or something that you're passionate about in life, and if you're passionate about 20 things, then seek after all of them. Go, if you're passionate about food, be passionate about food and seek after it. If you're passionate about reading, writing, be passionate about it and go after it as well. If you're passionate about acting, or if you're passionate about going to the Antarctic, then do it and try to make it happen. Because the worst we can do is fail and not make it there. Or is that the worst? Or is the worst just not trying at all and never taking that step? And so just, fulfill your passions.
If you're going to fail, might as well fail at something you want to do.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's terrifying. I mean, I'm going through that now, every new endeavor you try to do is terrifying. But if you have passion in it and something you love, it's always worth it.
I'll be honest. This is exactly what I'm doing with this right now. What we're doing right now is me trying to pursue my passion of other people's passion.
I think it's awesome. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Zach, for being on my show. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Joel. Thanks for having me. It's a wonderful show, and you're going to do awesome.
Anywhere that people can follow you or find you to kind of follow your food stuff or anything?
Food stuff, yeah. I mean, I do some things like on TikTok. I don't necessarily remember my handle right now. TikTok or Instagram.
just take your time, find it. Once you're ready, we'll go.
So you can find me at exactly zero.
Zero.
Wow. on TikTok. Okay. And then Instagram as well, and those will be connected.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any suggestions for people I should interview or questions you want me to ask, please hit me up on Twitter at Joel Circo. And I'll catch you all on the next episode. I hope you really enjoyed that. As always, a big shout out to Milana Dodd for her wonderful work with the cover art. Go check out her stuff. She's an awesome graphic design artist. Check out her website at milanadodd.com. And also I'll have a link to her Instagram. If you guys are looking for pictures like summer family photos or whatever, reach out to DecemberNoelPhotography.com or December Noel Photo. All those will be linked in the description. Check her out. She does amazing work. She's been posting a photo a day all year. So go check out some of the really fantastic stuff she's posting there. As always, if you have questions or comments, especially about the remastered episodes I've done, please let me know on Twitter at Joel Circo, on Instagram at CuriousJoelcast, or email me at CuriousJoelcast@gmail.com. Thank you so much for that. And also, if you like what you've been hearing, please share it with a friend that you think will actually listen to it. That is the way I am growing right now. I do not pay for any advertising. You are my advertising. And I thank you so much for that. With all that being said, thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you all on the next episode.